We're going to start sitting today on our trusty block. Let's take a few moments to settle. Breathing in. All those ankles around a little bit before we get in. And then just allowing yourself to take a little time to find that neutral position in your pelvis. Rocking it out, and the legs hang down. Shins as close to the floor. So Sukhasana, we actually just bring the heels in rather than crossing the ankles over. And sitting up on the prop allows us to tilt the pelvis forwards a little bit, and that encourages the lengthening of the spine. And then we can roll the shoulders back, just let the hands be on the thighs. It's your choice whether they're facing up or facing down. Facing up will draw more energy into your body, and down will help you calm down a little bit. So if you've had too much coffee this morning, or you've had a bit of a rough morning, then palms down and easy breathing. If you're trying to get some energy into your body, palms up, long, slow, deep breaths. And feel the power come back into your body. So as much as we are trying to find that peace and stillness in the spine and ease, we try to reciprocate that through the legs, let the groins release out. And it will fundamentally feel different in the base. The foundation changes when you relax those legs. Actually moving the tipping point around. Take a little breath in and open the eyes. Just bring the hands together, interlace, and then get a little bit of wrist rolling. So the forearms just resting against each other and letting the wrists go in both directions. I'm going to open the chest up a little bit. I'm going to take the hands around behind my back and see if I can take hold of each elbow with a hand. Just get the fingertips there. You feel that opening up in the chest. Again, it's going to change your balance point. So you're going to need to regard how you relax the legs as well. Try to keep the head level and spine long. Release the hands out. Bring the fingertips onto the floor by the side. Walk the fingers out to the left, palm down, and then stretch up through that right hand as high as you can. And press down into the bottom hand just a little. The side of your body stretching out. Again, trying to keep those legs relaxed. Bring that hand down, fingers back out wide, and walk out to the opposite side. Palm to the floor, reach up. We'll let that come down. Unravel the legs, take them out wide. Allow yourself to lengthen out through the heels, toes pointing towards the sky, a little stretch. Just be careful to avoid pressing down on the back of the knees. Bring the hands in front of the chest a little, sort of 10 inches away, and the elbows are high, the shoulders relaxed. And churn the middle. So I'm going to just roll out to the side. I'm going to roll forwards, roll over to the other side, roll back. I'm going to try and keep the spine very long. I'm not worried about reaching the hands forwards. It's much easier on the shoulders, this version. We're just working on that lower back muscle into the glutes and the hips. So the circles might get bigger as your body starts to warm up. That mobility starts to come back. We're going to try and keep the sitting bones attached to the ground. And as you come forwards, being careful not to round the back. Likewise, as we lean back, we're trying to get the pelvis to tilt with us as much as we can. And we'll go the opposite direction. See how that feels. Just check your toes out the corner of your eyes. They're still pointing up. Just spreading the toes out a little bit. Come around for the last time towards the front, and just lift ourselves back up. We'll take the hands underneath those legs and draw them back in and move onto all fours. Just moving the block out to the side, starting cat-cow. It's a nice spread of the fingers. Get that little finger and thumb distance apart as much as you can. Knees underneath the hips, boot laces down. And then we're ready to draw the chest forwards, roll the shoulders back gently and softly. Exhaling, tilting that pelvis, letting the spine lift. Now your breath might be faster or slower than mine, so move with your breath. Stands to reason you'll be looking forwards at some point when I'm looking down. So that's fine. You don't have to keep in time. Getting a nice sense of stretching the shoulders out. When we lift up, and drawing the abdominals in and pressing consciously but lightly into the shins. Come back into a neutral position. Tuck the toes underneath. Lift the knees away and use our way into down dog. Just step the legs out a little further if you need to adjust. Remember the heels are just away from the ground, so give yourself about an inch of height underneath the heels and it gives you a place to move into. Feel the back of the legs stretching out. You can pedal if you wish, nice and slowly. Or you can be still and the head to be in line with your arms. Rolling the armpits down a little towards the ground as you press the index finger down. Keeping the hands flat to the floor. Useful time to practice using the belly locks. Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha. Slowly bring ourselves forwards into a plank. We'll start to walk the toes in slowly. Move through almost a planky kind of down dog and then into a forward fold. See how close we can get with straight legs. Lift up onto the fingers for the last little crawl into the front of the mat. Bring the hands onto the hips, soften the knees and let ourselves lift up. Take the hands forwards, palms together. Knees up towards the sky. A little back bend, but looking forwards, if that makes sense. And then bringing the hands back in towards the heart. And hinging down to the floor. Hands back onto the hips. Shoulders and elbows back, and we lift up slow. And take the hands forwards again. And then bring the hands in through the heart. Belly's in. Soft knees, thighs lift a little down to the floor. Hands onto the hips again. The chest out. Let ourselves lift. Hands through the heart. To the sky. Back to the heart. And down to the floor. I'm going to take the feet as wide as the mat. Turn the toes out a little bit. Heels are still on the mat. Fingers are on the floor. I'm going to sink the bottom down until it's more or less level with your knees. You're going to let your body sink and roll down and relax. So head and shoulders are soft. And then drive through the legs as you exhale to let yourself lift up. Bring the hands back in towards the heart and then zigzag toes back in. Take a little breath from there. Hinge at the hips. Down to the floor. Stepping the right foot back into our lunge. So we're going to line the fingertips, the toes, back foot as far back as we can in that lunge. Press out through the back heel. We're going to drop the heel onto the ground, ready for warrior two. And we'll bring the hands either alongside the body or onto that front thigh to lift up. If you're taking it long, the right arm comes forwards and the cartwheel up. We'll bring the hands in towards the heart. Rotate towards the ground. Spin the back heel. Drop the back knee. Allow yourself to bring your hands alongside your body. Float the arms forwards and then lift your entire body off that front thigh. Lifting the chest a little towards the sky. We'll bring the hands back down to the floor. Step the back knee away from the ground into plank. We'll take a breath from here, knees to the ground. The elbows come back in towards the ribs as the chest falls between the hands. We slide the feet away. Bootlaces down for low cobra. Come for one. Remember to keep that bottom rib on the ground. Two. Heels turn out. Thighs away. Legs press down. Three. Very little weight in the hands. More for guidance. Four. Breathe long. and slow and fast. Coming back down. Hands to the back of the ribs. Press away from the floor. We'll tuck the toes under again. And sit back onto the heels, head to the ground. Press slowly back up to a rounded spine, to a tabletop, into neutral. Lifting the knees away, we're back into down dog. And we'll scissor the right leg towards the sky, and then draw the knee in towards the chest and through the lunge. Onto the fingertips again. Press out through the back heel. Push off the toes. Forward bend. Hands onto the hips. And we'll lift up. Bring the hands back in towards the heart. Moving myself just into the front of the mat again. Exhaling over and down. Left leg back into lunge. Drop the back heel in. Ready for warrior two. Just checking the front knee is over the ankle. Dynamic lift or a normal lift. Trying to work out what to call that. Your choice. Just leaving the groins open a little bit. Getting used to the traction in the feet. Pressing down. Bring the hands back in towards the heart. Rotate gently down to the floor. Spin the back heel and drop the back knee. Hands alongside the body. Float the arms out. Lift the whole body up. Chest to the sky. And then bring the hands down. Lift the back knee. Step into plank. Take a little breath. Knees to the floor. Elbows into the ribs. Chest down. Slide the feet away. Inhale up, low cobras. Exhale down. Inhaling up. Down. 3 more. And bring the hands again to the bottom of the ribs, elbows back. Push it to the ground as you exhale. So back onto the heels, head to the ground. Exhale, rounded spine into neutral tabletop. Lift the knees back into down dog. Left leg lifts, scissor, keep the hips square, point the toes, straight leg. Knee into the chest and through for lunge. Relax the shoulders back as you press out through that back straight leg. Push off the toes into a forward bend. Bring the hands onto the hips and let ourselves lift up. We'll take the next round a little stronger, but still slow. Hands into the heart and exhale down. Taking the right leg back into lunge. Dropping the heel in again, ready for warrior two. Your choice of normal lift, hands on thighs, or dynamic lift. Cartwheel one arm forwards and lift up. Bring the hands in towards the heart, down to the floor. Spin the back heel. Allow yourself to bring the hands alongside your body as you lift halfway up. Take the hands forwards. Lift the whole body up. Try to take the chest towards the sky again. Arms back a little. And it's down to the floor. Trickier than it looks. Head back into the plank. This time we'll come into half planks. Knees to the floor if you wish. Boot laces down otherwise. And strong legs, either case, pressing down. Up dog into down dog. We'll scissor the right leg. Lengthen out. Knee into the chest. Bring the foot through into that lunge. And press off the toes into a forward fold. Hands come onto the hips. We lift up. Hands into the heart. And exhaling down again, shifting the weight into the toes as we come in. Left foot back into our lunge on the fingertips. Drop the heel in. Warrior twos. Your choice of lift. Hands into the heart, breath in. Rotate down to the floor. Fingertips, and then lift the back heel, strong back leg. Hands come alongside the body lifts up halfway. We float the hands out, exhale it up. Let the eyes walk up the wall, towards the ceiling. Then we come back down to the floor. Stepping back into our plank. Half planks, up dogs. Down dogs. And then left leg lifts. Scissor it out nice and long. Into the chest. And through to the lunge. Take a little breath. Step into that forward fold. Hands onto the hips. We'll lift up. And shake it all out. I'm going to move about halfway down the mat. Bring my block back on there as well. So put a landscape. I'm going to bring the heels onto the corner edges of the block. Take hands out in front, so kind of look like a Halloween mummy walking around. On the toes pointing out, and draw the belly in and tuck tailbone under a little bit and the belly in. As I soften the knees and let myself come down. I'm trying to keep the body as upright as I can for as long as I can. Squeezing down into a squat. Once I've arrived, you'll notice that the arms are still out there. I'm going to draw the belly in, drive through the legs, lift back up. The arms stay out in front again, which suggests correctly that we're going back down again. Just keeping your eyes focused on the point. Coming down slowly. Those knees will creak and crack, but we do it slowly. They're still safe. Drive through, keeping the tailbone tucked under that little bit. Lifting up. We'll come more down again. And a final lift. As we arrive, we'll bring hands in towards the heart. We'll lift the heels off of the block. Place them to the floor. The feet are parallel, hinging at the hips. Fold down gently. And we'll move the block out to the side. Walk the fingers into the front of the mat. Allow yourself to walk your toes into the front of the mat. The feet parallel and the hip distance apart. You take the right foot to the back of the mat into lunge. Drop the heel back in for warrior two. Your choice of lift. See how much energy you feel still have in your body. And then we're going to come into an extended side angle. But we're going to take the hands behind the back. So I'm going to squeeze the shoulder blades together a little bit. Draw the hands down, tuck the tailbone under again. Keep the chest facing the long side of the mat. And let yourself hinge out. So trying to allow your torso, the spine, head, follow the line of that back foot. Press the back foot down with some emphasis. They're going to try and keep the body where it is. And straighten the front leg. So we're in a kind of like a semi-triangle pose. Now we'll soften the front knee. Bring ourselves back into our warrior two. Hands in towards the heart, down to the floor. This time we're just going to lift the back heel and step into the forward fold. Bring the hands onto the hips and let ourselves lift up. Hands to the heart. We'll exhale down. Take the left leg back into the lunge. Again, we'll drop the heel in, lifting to warrior two. So just check in, the front foot is square to the front of the mat, knees over the ankle. As you lift, you press into the back foot a little bit to bring yourself up into your warrior. When you feel steady, stable through the base, the hands come behind the back, down to the floor. Keep leaning over that front leg, turning the chest to the long side, back foot pressing down. Draw the hands towards that back foot a little bit, which means to stop the ribs flaring. You have to draw them down towards the pelvis. And send the tailbone right to the back of the mat. Keep it tucked under. Again, keeping the body where it is. Slowly straighten that front leg. Still drawing that hand. Trying to work out where the line of the back leg and the torso are. Have you gone too high? Have you gone too low? We do this all without looking. All about the feel. Soften the front knee. Bring ourselves gently back into our warrior two. Hands in towards the heart and down to the floor. Spin the back heel, take a little breath. Push off the toes. Forward fold. And hands come onto the hips. And we'll let ourselves lift up. Hands in towards the heart. We'll take that into a little back bend. This time letting the head follow hands towards the back of the mat. Bring the hands in towards your heart. Hinge over the hips. Coming back down to the floor. We'll take a little breath from there. Step back with the right foot. We'll take the hands forwards just a little. Press off the toes of the back foot into a warrior three. And keep the back leg straight. Take your left hand forwards a little. Beyond the fingertips if you can. Turn the hip, right hip, up towards the sky and open the hips out. Turning the toes to the side. Feel that little bit more weight shift into the fingers on the left. Slowly bring the right hand away from the floor onto the hip. And then see if you can take that hand up towards the sky. Into a supported half moon pose. Take a little breath from there and bring the hand gently back onto the hip. Down to the floor, we turn the chest and the hip back into that warrior three shape. And then we soften the front knee to bring ourselves back into lunge. We step forwards into the fold. Come onto the hips and we lift. Into the heart. Exhale back down to the floor. And taking the breath, the left foot goes back. Take the hands forwards. We'll press off the back foot. And lift. So we want to take as much as we can to the fingertips. We're going to slowly turn the left hip up towards the sky, toes out to the side. Slowly feel the weight come into the right hand. Bring the left hand carefully as you can onto your hip. Continue to turn the chest and the hips up towards the sky. And take that left hand up towards the ceiling. And press out through a flexed long leg. Try and Keep the leg lifting rather than hanging. It's a slightly different sensation that makes you feel more confident. We'll bring the hand back down, chest, and then rotate the chest and hips. Soften the front knee, land the lunge, a bit awkward. Take a breath and step into that forward fold. Hands come onto the hips, and we'll let ourselves lift up. Hands come into the heart, exhale down to the floor. Take a little breath from here, and we step back into down dog. Just giving a little time for the effects of that little sequence that we've run through to have its effect on the body. And we'll come into tabletop. Bring the knees back down to the floor. I'm going to bring the elbows down. Take a little breath. Lengthen the legs away. Allow myself to come into Sphinx pose. Just pressing those elbows down a little bit. Belly drawn in, legs away. Okay, now from here, I'm going to keep the elbows where they are, bring the fingers together and interlace them, little finger tucked under so I can press the forearms down into the ground. Push the shoulders down a little bit, tuck the toes underneath, make sure the knees and feet are a hip distance apart. Now I'm going to press to start with into the knees and lift the body. Then I'm going to see if I can tuck the toes under, press the heels away, keep myself in that long line. Last breath. Everything comes back down to the floor. Whew. And then we'll just bring the hands alongside the bottom of the ribs, press away slowly, lift up. We'll sit straight back into child's pose. So I'm going to take the hands underneath the forehead and let the shoulders and the spine relax. So it's a nice way of building into an elbow plank from Sphinx pose. The idea is to give yourself about 5 breaths, maybe a little more, with the knees down, pressing in. And that just fires up the abdominals and the posterior chain for you. So when you tuck the toes underneath and press the heels away, lifting the knees from the ground, you're pretty much in a perfect elbow plank. And you can hold that again for another 5 or 7 breaths. It's a great way of building up the strength. I'm going to lift again. Let ourselves come up onto all fours. Now we'll just roll down onto my back for a moment and draw the heels in towards the buttocks. Letting the hands come up towards the sky directly above my chest, palms facing. I'm going to alternate the legs and arms in a moment. I'm going to draw the belly down towards the floor, get that good connection. Come up onto the tippy toes. Try and lift the knees gently above where I think my hips are. And then extend the legs up towards the sky, straight as I can, pointing the toes, squeezing the thighs a fraction. We'll begin by an exhale and letting the right arm and left leg come down. We'll try and keep the back flat to the floor. Lift my way back up. Cross it over to the other side. That's working our way through. exhaling down and inhaling up. Just a few more seconds to go. Draw the knees in. Give ourselves a little hug. Roll gently onto our right side. Use the hands to press into the floor. And as we lift up, we'll spin the feet round and come into Dandasana. Legs out in front. So this is an opportunity to try and let those thighs feel like they're lengthening back out. When you do the alternated legs and arms, they do tend to get activated quite highly. So this is a chance to try and ease them back out again whilst we're still flexing the feet and the toes towards the sky. Just squeezing the thighs in a fraction. I'll take a little breath from there and allow the legs to open out as best you can. Sit up tall. Take a little breath. I'm going to turn my chest towards my left thigh and just have the hands either side. And I'm going to continue for a few more seconds here, just trying to rotate the chest round and get the sitting bones flat to the floor. And ideally, I want this thigh, knee, shin, and foot pointing up towards the sky. I'll take a little breath and see if I can hinge at the hips and allow myself to fold over. Now we can all get to varying degrees. So some people will be able to get really close to that knee. Some people just take a little more time to get in. They sort of come in phases. And some people will just be kind of finding their edges quite high. So they don't get too low. But try not to let your head drop more than your chest is already coming to the floor. You're always looking eyes and face just a little towards that front foot and actually drawing yourself towards it rather than thinking about coming down to get your chest on your thigh. Focus on getting your nose and your toes to touch without bending your knees. And now we use the hands to lift back up. Come back into the center. You feel the release in the hips and the spine gently taking place. And then we'll start to work on the other leg. So again, I'm going to start to make sure the leg is pointing up towards the sky. I want the spine as long as I can and rotate it round. So I can kind of use my arms a little to help, but you don't need excess effort. There's a good possibility you'll find that one side of your body falls easier than the others. We take the hands either side and let ourselves move gradually towards the toes. Trying to get the body square to that front leg. We use the hands to walk ourselves back up. Back into the center again. We'll take the left foot now. We'll take the right foot in towards the groin, knee down on the floor. I'm going to turn the chest towards the bent knee. So I amuse myself when I get lost. Right, taking that left, sorry, right, I think we'll continue. Take the left hand down your left leg and lengthen out slowly. And see if you can either hook around the big toe, or you can take the hands around the little toe side. But trying to turn your chest up towards the sky. Now, getting the elbow as close to the arm as you can. If you're able to get down really low, you might even get it to the floor. And you can choose whether you come on the inside or the outside. If you come on the inside of the thigh, it's much easier to turn the chest up towards the sky. So just in case you're wondering. And then the rear hand, we'll call that the right hand, we'll take that up towards the sky. And I'm going to try and lift that up rather than lengthening it out towards the front of the mat, which would be kind of a traditional version. We're going to try and work on opening the chest up first. Get the length in the body. And we'll bring the hand down, release the left hand and walk the fingers back up. We'll take both legs back out. And then this time the left leg really does come in. I turn the body towards that left knee. Get a little bit of space in the spine as I rotate round. And right hand comes onto the right shin, walks out. Again, you choose. Whatever you're able to get hold of really works. Open the chest a little more towards the ceiling. Just think about lengthening the body out. And actually lengthen out, try and press the sitting bones down a little bit. You'll be surprised how that makes it feel a little easier, even though you're stretching longer. And then we'll slowly take that left hand up again to 12 o'clock. Work on opening the chest. Pressing the tailbone and the sitting bones down. We lengthen the body out towards the toes. And then we'll release that top arm down. Fingers back in. Allow ourselves to take both legs back out in front into Bandhasana again. sitting tall. Just giving the spine a little time to get over the shock. Those two poses. I'm going to take the block and just slide that underneath my bottom. And come into a seated twist. So I'm going to draw the left foot underneath. Take the right foot over. Just allow myself to slide my left hand over to the right in front of that knee and taking the twist. Leveling the head, tilting the pelvis forwards a little bit. Beginnings of a counter-levering between the leg and the arm. Space for breath. And release from there. Untangle the legs. Bring them across the opposite way. Right arm through to the left side. Rotate round. And we'll release from there as well. Take both legs out in front and we'll come for Janu Shirshasana. So I'm going to draw the left heel into the groin, knee down towards the floor, a little bend in the knee, hands onto the shin and fold over that front thigh as I press the heel into the groin a little bit and the knee down towards the floor. Extend the hands out and over the top of the toes of the front leg. I've still got the bend in the knee. I draw my body towards the toes. And I'll release. And back up, and we'll just swap that out to the opposite side. So here with the sort of groin, foot flexed, knee to the floor. Square the hips, square the front leg. Lift high, fold over from the hips. Lengthen the hands out over the toes, just drawing the foot back a little. And directing your body towards the toes of this front foot. And we'll release from there as well. This time we're going to take the left heel into the groin and the knee out wide. We're going to come into Heron's pose. So I'm going to draw the right knee in first of all, and just draw that knee in towards the body and get myself nice and upright. So I'm starting to work through the pelvis to get it back into neutral, because as I draw my foot in, my pelvis tilts backwards in my body anyway. So it gives it a little time to kind of settle. The knee is high. I'm going to use the right hand to the outside of the right knee, and I'm going to take the left hand on the outside edge, so crossing the right foot. So I'm taking hold of the little toe area, and then slowly lengthening that leg up. Use the other hand to just bind across. So I've got a right over left combination. Both arms or both hands holding onto the foot a little and pressing the heel to straighten the leg out a little bit. Keeping the body upright, trying to lean a little more into that front shin rather than backwards. So just finding a nice balance point. And we'll release and bring that foot to the floor. Lengthen the leg out. Follow with the other leg. Wriggle through the sitting bones. Right heel into the groin, knee out to the side wide. Bring the foot in. So follow it out to the outside edge of the hip a little bit more. Bring the knee in. Allow yourself to use your arms against that shin to draw the leg in towards you, but also to lift up and get that pelvis into a nice neutral position. Again, I'm going to use the left hand on the outside of the left leg. Right hand comes across. And take a breath and then lengthen that out. And slide the other hand back over the top of that leg. So I've got left over right. Now the leg to lengthen out. Again, try to lift up and draw the weight a little into the front leg. So it's just avoiding leaning back and leaning into your pelvis and your lower spine. And try and keep lifting it up. Use your abdominal strength. Whilst we're getting a little bit of a stretch into the hamstrings, which hopefully are relatively opened up already. So this is more a challenge of an abdominal hold and balance, working into the leg particularly. However, it might still be tight if you've got the tight muscles. Last couple of breaths. Shoulders are drawn back a little bit to help with the lift. Lift the chest and the heart high. Now I'm going to roll gently back down onto the floor. So I'm going to move the block towards the back of the mat. So I'm going to come into Happy Baby, and I just find that a little bit easier. So knees high, hands behind, the spine down towards the floor. Head lands on the block, so it's away from the neck and the shoulders. Going to wriggle those shoulders underneath, and wriggle the hips out, lengthen the spine. Once I've done that, knees come in towards the body, our toes together, knees wide. Let's have a little wriggle through the tailbone, a little bit of wriggle through the hips as well. And then when you're ready, you're going to slide the hands along the shins. And take hold of the little toe side of the feet, wrapping the hands over the shoelace area. Now I want to bring the soles of the feet directly above the knees. So if the knees are wide, therefore, feet are wide. Try and keep the tailbone as close to the ground as you can. Actively draw that down. Try and relax the shoulders a little. The feet gently back in towards the groin. Slide the feet to the floor close to your bottom. Take a moment to lengthen the spine out properly and adjust. And then start to wiggle the feet out wide. And just use your toes to walk your feet towards the front end of the mat. When you get to a certain point, hopefully you'll be able to slide the heels out slowly. And just let the legs roll open. The hands by the side, and we're ready for Shavasana. Begin to stretch those fingers and toes. Loosen ankles. Breathe a little deeper. Use that as stretch out. Slowly slide the heels along the ground back in. Let the legs come in towards the body for a gentle hug. And then we'll carefully roll onto our right side, breathing in, keeping the knees tucked in. Rolling the spine over, hands to the floor, and press away as we exhale. A smooth rolling lift back up to a seated posture. Make yourself comfortable and bring your hands in towards your heart. So close your eyes. Allow a deeper breath to come into your body, and a slow exhale beginning. Letting the chin drop to the chest, the belly draw to the spine, and a simple bow form, filling your practice. On the inhale, letting the spine lift, head lifts, eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed. See you on the mat again soon.